Bad Boys Ride or Die is the latest installment in the Bad Boys cinematic universe. The original Bad Boys from 1995 is among my favorite films. I'm not saying just a guilty pleasure, and Bad Boys 2 has unequal levels of carnage. We're talking 3 major car chases and a plethora of gun battles. But Bad Boys for Life scaled things back, and its follow-up, Bad Boys Ride or Die, sure had a lot of dying, not a lot of riding. This is going to be a rather spoiler-rich review. I will start by saying I found the movie to be 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Now, I went to see this in IMAX with my buddy Marlon, who you may remember from my review of X-Men Apocalypse, the 3 of you who watched that. Oh, they'll sell you an IMAX ticket, but this was not large format digital or IMAX. In fact, it looked a little blurry, a little soft. I wouldn't recommend seeing it on the biggest screen possible. But that's Bad Boys now. Movies that started out under Michael Bay, they were shot on film, they had carnage, it was over the top, and the first 2 were hilarious. And since then, it seems like we're trying to replicate that formula. This movie gets the look a little bit closer to Bayhem, but it still looks way too much like the last movie, to the point that when the trailer dropped, I thought I was just watching the trailer for the previous movie. So it starts off in like, oh, Will Smith's driving the Porsche, except now it's a Turbo S, whereas last time they didn't have a turbo model for some reason. And he spins a little, and they're in a rush to get somewhere. Looks like a wedding. We've done this before, except this time, Martin Lawrence's Marcus Burnett, the family man who last I heard was retired, and that seemed to be why he was segueing out of action in Bad Boys for Life, now seems to have access to the police whenever he wants. I don't know. These guys they're the worst cops, and sometimes that's great. They don't write tickets. No one ever gets arrested. They just shoot and destroy, which it's a thing that we need a little more in movies. If we're going to keep an action movie genre alive, maybe we need a little less realism. But I thought that the action was taken more seriously under Michael Bay, and here they try to cut away to some joke gag. I didn't like there being flashbacks in Bad Boys 2. Now we don't have just flashbacks, we have outright dream sequences. All right, sure, they stop a quick robbery at the convenience store. Marcus actually gets some Skittles. Hey, remember and some Skittles. That was a thing that happened in the original movie, so we're making a callback there. We have a wedding, and Captain Howard, the late Captain Howard, his picture is put up there like he's a groomsman. It's a little weird. This is a guy who died, let's say 4 years ago, and we're honoring him at the wedding, and I don't really understand that. So it's not like it's his daughter being married or anything. In fact, Mike Lowry, Will Smith's character, he's now a family man. He settled down. He got a wife who has like 2 lines in the movie, and all she does is get captured. I thought that there was going to be like a twist here, like maybe she's behind some of the stuff, because this is the most paper-thin plot of all the Bad Boys films. Eric Dane is a former, DEA agent who was tortured by the cartels, and he wants some revenge, but there's a plan where he has to have money put in the account of the late Captain Howard to frame him, because evidently he was off on his own trying to figure out why the cartels were getting past the border with narcotics. And then late in the movie, they're like, yeah, you politicians made a bad deal over here. You let the cartels run wild so long as terrorism didn't happen. So the plot of this movie works if there's no major terrorism event in the early part of 2024 to spoil the movie. Yeah, there's no terrorism. Okay, but there's drugs, take it or leave it. But I felt that the action in this movie, even though getting more comedic and trying to incorporate this afterlife thing, and Marcus, he has a heart attack, so now he has visions and stuff, and they're going to interrupt the action. There'll be a shootout, and then he has to like, oh, hey, did you know I can't die? Like, goofy stuff happens. And I'm kind of put off by it in a way because I think that you need to respect the action in some degree. And despite respecting the action and taking those situations seriously, Bad Boys 2 even had loads of comedy in it. So why can't we get that right anymore? Now everything has to be such a joke. This movie's directed by these two guys from Not Here. They did the last movie. They're getting a little closer to emulating the Michael Bay look of things. The camera swooping around more. We don't get enough low-angle shots, and it feels like we're spending too little time in some scenes. As weird as that sounds, think back to even Bad Boys 2. As chaotic as that movie is, we spent a good deal of time in an electronics store, and we had a nice gag there. But here, we're hopping. Oh, hey, Eric Dane shows up at the banker's house, kills him, kills his mistress, who I looked up, and she's some kind of karate expert. Why didn't she kick the gun out of his hand? You know, like flexible, lift your leg up, kick the... They could have gave her something to do. They have real trouble coming up with stuff for women to do in these movies now. And I don't really know why that is. Hell, they ran off Theresa Randle. Theresa! That... Marcus Burnett's wife. I'm here to kill my husband. The short one. She was great in the first movie. She had a diminishing role as we went along, but hey, you're with the series 29 years, and then they go and replace you. Now, what bothers me about this is there wasn't even a statement. She was spotted like a year ago with a walker. Some people say she's in a wheelchair. Is she having some ailment? Maybe we could have worked this in some way that was respectful, but instead it's, nah, forget the fact that the gal that replaced her looks nothing like her. We're going to do the Aunt Viv thing to Theresa. Is Will Smith behind this? So they actually have Captain Howard framed, and the FBI guy, he's going on saying bad things about him, and like Mike Lowry, he gets up in his face, and he was doing this, you say Captain Howard's name one more time, and I'm like, slap. I said, that's what you need to yell in the theater when you see this. But the plot exists solely to find some way to get Armando broken out of prison. He's on the run. It looks like Mike and Marcus have plotted some kind of escape. And then there's a bit of a pursuit angle. And who's pursuing them? U.S. Marshals led by Captain Howard's daughter. And she's got a daughter also. And her daughter and Mike's wife, they're going to get captured. But you know who don't get captured? Marcus's family. Because redemption for Reggie. He showed up in 2003, got dressed down at the door. It was funny. Roger Ebert thought it went over the line, but I thought it was funny. I laughed my ass off when I saw Bad Boys 2 in theaters back in 2003. And finally, he gets his hands dirty. They made him up to be a Marine in the last film, and now he's like, John Wick. He disposes of 15 guys, has the best scene in the movie, end of. We have a female police captain. She was introduced in the last movie. Vanessa Hudgens is here, filling in for helping with police work. They actually kind of do have to do something here. The guy from Heels, the younger brother from Heels, he was in Bad Boys for Life. Him and Vanessa Hudgens, they're a thing, and they're the young cops on the ammo team, which I don't even think gets mentioned as ammo here. But they actually do police work, and they have to show Armando various pictures, try to identify this guy who is behind setting up Captain Howard. Now, the villain, Eric Dane, actually employs two henchwomen. There is a computer hacker, super short hair. She was in Terrifier. There is also, and I don't think she talks, but he has an Asian with a rifle played by Levy Tran, which means Bad Boys Ride for Die is sadly an Expendables 4 reunion. Yeah, Levy Tran, the Asian with all of the tattoos at the start of Fast and Furious 7. Yeah, she's in this, disappears, along with the hacker girl. They have a big shootout, and these two are just not seen. I think Levy Tran walked up some stairs and was just never seen again. There's no shortage of guns in use, though I think a lot of the flash, and this has been pointed out to hilarity, they use the post-production flash instead of like firing blanks in the last film, and I think you got some of this here. There are some real explosions. There's some fake fire for sure. There's also no car chases. All you get out of that Porsche 911 Turbo S is the first opening scene, and then they drive in it to places to hit those transitions. That's it. It doesn't see any actual action. Nothing they do gets any actual action as far as on the road. I have a theory, and the last film had a chase scene. They had the bike and the sidecar with the minigun on it. Okay, but the street was not crowded at all. And that movie actually looked very cheap in digital, and this looks quasi-cheap digital. Expensive digital, it doesn't look as good as film. But is it possible that being in the 80s and the 90s, every movie had a car chase? Hell, Basic Instinct had a car chase. Is it now just too hard to shut down a city street? You can get car chases in the desert for Furiosa, Mad Max Fury Road, that sort of stuff. But has anybody recently had a car chase on a public street? I can't think of anything happening in the last 5 years. I don't think Mission Impossible can much do it. This franchise has been amazing with returning characters, but how come we can't bring back Téa Leoni as Julie? She was great in the first film. She's the female lead. She's on the poster. Never mentioned ever again. Hell, you guys brought back DJ Khaled. Thankfully, you killed him off in a gruesome fashion, and that is one of the more rewarding things about this film. And I want to talk about the power creep in technology this franchise has seen. Remember in the first film where they had to have a computer expert try to open some files, and there was even this kind of sci-fi element of being able to trace a cell phone? Remember those days? Well, in this film, Tiffany Haddish and her girl gang of strippers have captured the three men on the run for a $5 million bounty. Why any of them would take video of this and post it on the web so that they could summon every gang in the city to try to thwart their plans to cash in, I don't know. And yet somehow the US Marshal Service immediately identified this. As much as Michael Bay's absence is felt, the chemistry between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith is really the crux of the franchise, and I think why fans keep coming back. If they did another installment, and yeah, they really set it up here because Armando gets away and Captain Howard's daughter, who was going to gun for him, had a change of heart because her daughter got saved by him. Okay, of course, we saw this coming a mile ahead. Maybe we could get like a fifth movie where it's like Armando teams up with Reggie and Mike Lowry, Marcus Burnett. They're kind of like calling the shots from The Office or something like that. And then they get their hands right and they actually have to, oh wait, they have to get in the Porsche, show up and drive them to safety. Yeah, Bad Boys 5, we're actually going to drive cars this time. Make it happen. I give Bad Boys Ride or Die 2.5 out of 4 stars.